Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of AirMech and Chill. I'm actually joined here by one of the players, or actually, I don't know if I could say both or two of the players, but let's just say one of the players of this game, KombatKat. KombatKat, hey man, how you doing? Thanks for sending in this replay.
Hey, I'm glad to be on here.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to try to do some AirMech and Chill co-casts or some random co-casts with some, community members. KombatKat, a fellow community, community member that's, makes a lot of maps, and hopefully is going to host some events pretty soon. So was this a ranked game? I keep forgetting what the submission.
Oh yeah,
was.
this was
ranked.
this was not custom.
Okay, so for the record, this guy that I'm talking to right now entered this match in ranked queue, and it is going to be a very, very unique, different, strange kind of replay that we're going to be watching here. So in the upper left, it's going to be the blue team XCOM2 and Chrome, Warthog striker combo, and in the bottom right we have two players who have the word cat in their name, and wait a minute, they're standing in the same spot. So KombatKat, what the heck is going on right now?
Okay, so I don't really know where to start exactly, but yeah, I don't know where to start. Maybe
let's just say both you and Cat Slave are both Ospreys standing in the exact same spot, moving the exact same way. So are you mind controlling this guy, or is there something else going on?
So, at the core, all I'm doing is transferring inputs to two accounts. At the core, it's just two clients, and two accounts, two build queues, everything that you have in a normal match. You have two of everything, but both of them share the exact same inputs.
And oh my god, you are double light unit Osprey spamming.
It doesn't get too quickly, but
I mean, you're clearly doing something very specific. Probably something very specific that that you're sort of, I mean, it's probably very difficult to do something that's not this with a dual input or single input to two players kind of style. And you're actually kind of rolling over these two very experienced players here in XCOM2 and Chrome, already have their close and are basically knocking on their front freaking door. This looks like it might be over at any moment, which is insanity. Which is in a technical 1v2 or 2v1, whatever you want to call it.
I made many mistakes here.
And both guys died.
You can tell that
you walked over a heavy mine, or at least you were standing where a heavy mine was at the same time your unit set it off. I guess that was mistake numero uno.
Yeah, just pushing into mines in general, though.
Yeah.
I should have gone a different direction instead of pushing it forward.
Hey, and you have double the disarm ability here, so come on, man, what the hell? But, I mean, mid is clear. Upkeep is not dramatically different. This is pretty interesting and kind of insane.
You can notice that heavy desync right there. That happens a lot. That happens a lot when you're doing this because you have to be very, very careful to keep both mechs in line. Look at Chrome. He can't get his regen because both of them are firing at the same time.
He's basically getting focus fired by Ospreys, which is hilarious. And I did notice that one way that you try to recombine positioning is, pressing up against structures. That way both mechs, basically rejoin in the same spot again.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems I face when doing this. Is desyncs will cost you a lot of time if they're big enough, because you won't always have the geometry to push your mechs in place.
Right. I mean, if they're close enough together, you'll probably be okay, especially with the approach, the tactical approach, if you want to call it that, if anything, that you're going with this, you know, with the traditional light unit. I guess you're going light unit sergeant spam also, which is a very unique, interesting variation on it in a 2v2. I actually, off the top of my head, don't remember ever seeing this done in a 2v2, because most people that do, you know, light unit spam via, and, you know, light unit spam plus Osprey do it in 1v1. And okay, there's okay, and now you gotta wait for 2 guys to respawn, basically, now.
Yeah, I mean, it actually makes it easier if both die.
Right.
Because, as long as one is dead, I still have to move the other one back to resync. So it's better that both die at the same time instead of having to resync things.
You grab 2 boxes at the same time. That that is effing awesome. And you're grabbing another set of 2 boxes at the same time. Oh my god. Just more freaking jackals and sergeants to roll over with, I guess, you know, whatever. Oh boy. Okay. How'd you do that?
So I have one key for transform for both of them and another key for individual ones, so that in case transform desyncs happen, I can move one to the air and one to the ground.
That does present a potential extreme problem, so that's a very smart little workaround that you built in there. So, man, and I don't want to delve too much into exactly how you did this. It's probably a good idea not to make those specifics too public, is my take on it, but you're doing this essentially through one computer, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, don't want to be overly revealing. Oh gosh. So now you got to bring them both together if you don't let one guy. Okay, so you're just retreating back to fort basically to resync their positions at this point.
Yeah, you can see, but there's some tactics that I have to resync this.
Yeah, it's basically to maintain the integrity of this ridiculousness that you're implementing. I mean, you still got control of mid, 65 to 7. Man, you're freaking upkeep capped right now.
I think Chrome takes mid at some point, but I push it back.
He did. I mean, he took it earlier. They took it earlier, but they were too overwhelmed on their side of the map with all the light units that they basically had to abandon mid, I think. So, I think, so just for the record, everyone, you know, as KombatKat was explaining to me over Discord text, he basically dumped a textbook on me that I came back to, and I was like, yeah, I don't have time to read a phone book right now, so maybe we can just talk about it. So, I think one of the things that I remember you mentioning is that doing this with an Osprey or a Paladin is probably the most straightforward and simple, or at least the least compromising way to do it. And
well, I've been working on this for a couple months. One day I thought, what started this actually was wondering if I could play a 2v2 with an AI, not having a partner, you know, like an automated partner.
Yeah.
Wondering if I could work around the AI to make it functional.
And you're talking about a 2v2 in a ranked queue, or just in general?
Yeah.
Okay.
Against,
okay.
You know, anyone really, but
yeah,
I just wanted to see if it would work. So I looked deeper. I figured out how to run 2 clients simultaneously, and then I figured out how to transfer the inputs between them, which was the hardest part, because for the longest time, I mean, for like a few days, I was trying to figure that out. But when I finally figured it out, I tried it only with Paladin, because the first prototypes, only Paladin can macro. The rest of the mechs, they are either too fast, you can't use what like what you normally can. You can't micro. You don't have these basic abilities to do things. Oh,
that dude's lagging out. Yeah, it's fine. Anyway.
So you don't have these basic tools to your disposal. You don't have any of these things, and you notice that I can heal right now, and I can fire with both. I can do all these things, but at first I was not able to do this, so Paladin was my only option.
What? Okay. What couldn't you do? You couldn't build? I'm sorry.
You could build. Builds were synchronized, so
okay.
If you press 1, both of them press 1. So you have to get analogous units that both cost the same. Either the same cost and usually build time.
You don't necessarily have to, but it helps play into the dual simultaneous play.
Well, you don't want to worry about your credits being uneven, because once you start worrying about that, your build queues start becoming completely messy, and you can't do anything whatsoever about it unless you you're very, very careful, and it's too much maintenance to do that.
Okay, so I'm a little unclear as to why you. So you were saying Paladin is the only one that can macro, and I'm different terminology in different games makes that a little bit unclear. What did you actually mean by that?
A macro in my case is being able to do follow commands, have units mess up without having to use abilities, not have to micro, things that you normally play with, you just completely forego, and hope that this advantage of yours is gonna work.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So, basically adapting a playstyle that doesn't actually rely on 2 people in a 2v2, and then you have to go to the corners to be able to get... Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily rely on 2 people cooperating. It's basically... How can you make it so that one person with double the power, double the everything, essentially, can effectively be... Oh god, another death. But yeah, how they can really be effective in a competitive 2v2 is that's kind of your main hang-up, I'm guessing.
Yeah, because you have to rely on abilities for the most part with other mechs.
Okay.
With Osprey, you couldn't use the abilities because the way the abilities work just was not compatible with it.
Okay. And so what changed between what you had before and what you have now that allows you to effectively use this with Osprey?
I use controller.
Ah!
And instead of using the default controller controls, I actually link the controller to keys. So when I'm moving around like that, it looks like I'm on the keyboard, but I'm actually on the controller.
Oh, that's an interesting... Okay, so you actually... I mean, maybe this is not technically how it's done, but conceptually speaking, you're like key binding controller inputs to keyboard inputs.
Exactly.
That's an
exactly
interesting... Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you're playing with the keyboard through a controller.
Yeah, and I use that to be able to use the KOL.
To shoot.
Yeah, the directional firing.
Ah, yeah. So I don't know if a lot of people are unaware that you can actually you can use WASD on a keyboard to move, but instead of using the mouse to shoot, you actually do have the option to use OKL and semicolon, I think, is the other button, in order to shoot. And you can shoot in a digital, discrete direction. essentially,
Yeah,
in an 8-direction configuration. Yeah.
It's unbinded. People, I hate unbinded buttons because there's so many times that unbinded buttons just pass under the radar of people who are trying to learn how to play.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I'm guessing this just continues. Unfortunately, XCOM 2 is there. And for people who are not aware of what's happening right now, XCOM 2 did not just have a seizure. That's a symptom of poor connection to the server. He's lagging like crazy right now, and in a replay, that's just what it looks like. It's super weird. But on his end, he's probably rubber banding like crazy. That's probably what it looks like on his end. But on the replay side, what the game server actually sees is that. Just that, you know.
Yeah, I saw him. I didn't want to kill him.
Right. Yeah.
I felt bad. Like I don't even consider this like a proper weapon.
Right. I mean, I don't know that this is you know, we should be even looking at this. Like, the purpose of what we're you know, making this video for is not necessarily for, oh man, this is a cool new way to be awesome in AirMech necessarily, but it's just a cool new thing that is awesome that you developed here, which is the dual input concept, which I mean, realistically speaking, you know, I've heard that concept being talked about before by other people. It's just no one's ever been able or willing or has pursued actually implementing it, and so KombatKat, you seem to be the first one.
You know, it looks easy, but it's incredibly hard to use. Like, there's input. Okay. So, there's input lag between both clients that you don't see on the replay. It looks like they're both going together, but I have to account for that while I'm...
Oh yes, because okay, and this is another thing that only like really hardcore AirMech fans will understand. Because what you see when you're playing a game live is not reality. You're seeing the game a split second before the current time, except for your mech. Your mech is slightly ahead of everything else in time. Because obviously this game has to sync up with the servers, and all players have to, you know, it's a real-time action game. So you're seeing just a split second before everything happens, except for your current client has your mech's position in the exact spot it is in, you know, the current reality. But the server has to adjust for all of that. So what I'm guessing what you were seeing on both screens was both players slightly offset all the time.
Yeah, and it's incredibly hard to get used to.
Yeah, I don't know how I possibly would do that. I would basically, I mean, theoretically, I guess, you could completely ignore the other guy that's not being played on the one screen. But it's still, you know, and just pretend that you're double. It's still just something that's really hard to deal with, I would imagine, just because you're literally seeing mechs in 2 different spots the entire time on both screens.
It's very distracting. It's like, you can ignore it, but...
Right. Like, realistically speaking, if this was, if this was, and if someone attempted to implement this in serious competitive play, it would make things very difficult just mentally. Because of the desync. Like, because of the constant, visual desync that you always have to see on your end. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah. So, I know you were talking about abilities and the different complications with different types of mechs. So, besides Osprey and Paladin, what is the next cleanest mech to use this, would you say? To use this implementation?
The first prototype...
Well, no, I'm talking about your current situation right now. Could you basically, with what you've developed so far, do you think you'd be able to use basically any mech effectively? I mean, there's going to be some weirdness, obviously, but do you think any mech would basically work?
Yeah, all mechs work, but
Okay.
the problem is that a good chunk of the mechs have issues with their abilities, with the way I make them work, because the way I get them to work is that when you leave the clients on idle and you move it to the controller so that you don't actually have any of the windows open. You have both of them in idle in the background so that you can properly, you don't desync with the controller inputs, because the clients will still try to accept controller inputs. So if you put them in the background, they won't get any, and you will only feed them keyboard inputs.
Okay.
So the way I get around the abilities is that I leave the mouse cursor, the one with the crosshair, near the edge of the window so that I could successfully get out of the window, but keep the cursor on the page. So this allows the game to think that you have your mouse on the window still, and when you press the ability button, not right click, but bind your ability to a button, it will actually use it. But some mechs override the directional firing that you use and aim at the where you rested it. You can see it in the replay where I specifically try to put myself to the left of my units because that's where my healing is being directed to.
Okay. Interesting. Your healing is being directed to the left.
No, being directed to the right. I put myself
whatever.
to the left of my units, so
that's what you're saying. Okay, so you can heal the units on the right side of you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember if one mech is to the left and one is to the right.
Oh, okay. So I think I get what you're saying. It's okay. So what I think there was a misunderstanding on my part when you said that some mechs override directional firing, and it's not the firing that gets overridden, but some abilities are dependent on cursor location rather than anything else.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
So because Osprey heal, and in this specific example, and I'm sure there's more if we want to think of it, probably Saucer, Death Ray, or something like that, but I'm sure you know the list fairly well at this point, but oh my god, he's freaking faring a Devastator. You better get that. You better get that. But
I don't. I just
but yeah,
I don't even care.
I mean, at this point, I don't know that there's anything to care about. Hilarious. So yeah, so since the Osprey cursor defines the direction it heals, you have to be on the other side of your units in order to properly use the ability. And this is pretty much going to be it, I think. Unless Chrome pulls out a miracle.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. It's most noticeable in Saucer and Angel. The rest of the mechs you can kind of work with it, but Striker and Paladin both actually obey the directional commands, and the rest are kind of like, you know, they're not as good with the abilities, but you can still use them.
I see. So I didn't realize that. Yeah. So the funny thing is, you're not actually the game doesn't see a controller; it sees keyboard and mouse. So that's pretty hilarious because you're playing on a controller, and when you said that, I was like, oh, you're using a controller, but you're limited by the fact that you're translating controller into KBM input. So obviously, Angel is going to see, oh, hey, the cursor is in this direction. I'm going to point my sniper in this direction. And like you said, with like you mentioned, and Saucer, is it Death Race? I mean, I would think that Death Race is the only thing that, so that's also probably very cursor dependent.
Yeah,
because you cannot use the firing buttons to point it.
those abilities are just completely unviable with this.
That's pretty hilarious. I mean, it's
Warthog
such an intriguing concept that you're using, essentially.
Warthog has no ability, essentially. So yeah, I mean,
Well,
you
no,
know,
no cursor dependent ability.
I mean, I guess it is with the air to ground, but who really uses air to ground that much?
You can't. Oh, I guess it does. It does. I mean, air to ground is useful. It just has to be applied properly. It's just people use it improperly, in my opinion. A lot of people use it to deal damage, which it needs to be more of a situational thing. Hitting mechs, finishing off stuff from the air without having to transform, etc. But yeah,
Yeah, it's an
so
amazing trapper.
I could understand that because then you're holding right click, which is basically activate ability. And when you're using a keyboard, you don't really think about the fact that you're not telling your Warthog to shoot. You're telling your Warthog to use that ability and use your cursor to point at what you want that ability to be used, what direction you want that ability to be used. So, yeah, I can understand the issue with your implementation here.
It's
So,
funny because it's most noticeable in Helix because when you use the grenades on the ground and you're facing one direction, you can actually just lob them behind you, and it's the funniest thing in the world.
oh, that is also so literally anything, any ability that, yeah, okay, so Helix grenades, Osprey's heal, basically all the right click abilities. Neo cloak, I guess not necessarily, but I don't know if backstab.
Oh, the backstab works.
Oh,
It's
does it,
crazy.
and that's not really cursor dependent, is it? It's mech. It's the
Uh,
direction your mech is facing.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Well,
But it
but your mech flies and points in the
anything
direction. Hmm.
anything melee. It's anything melee that obeys the your directionals, and anything projectile
Mm-hmm.
obeys the cursor.
I see. Okay.
And apparently, Paladin's hammer is considered melee.
Right. Right. I mean, I guess in theory, you could maybe implement some kind of macros to make the cursor all the way up, down, left, or right, depending on the direction that you last fired. If you know
Well,
what I'm saying.
the only reason that I had so many workarounds is that the the mouse inputs do not work. You cannot do mouse inputs. You can probably find something to, it is XCOM still there?
Oh no, the replay is definitely over right now.
No, it's
It-
over, but he just got in and he's like, "Where is everybody?"
well, I mean, if you left the game, this replay is from you, then the game cut off the replay recording, like the input recording. So it's probably just some remnant AI stuff that's going on right now that happens at the end of replays. It's super weird. Like, I'm pretty sure if I hit WASD, I could probably move you around. Nope. Oh, yep, right there. I'm moving. Oh no, never mind.
Your XCOM.
It's weird stuff. I think if I stop the replay input, or broke it, which is tab, by the way. If you guys are watching a replay, like a loaded up replay, don't hit tab. It'll cut off the replay input. Just a little FYI from RUI. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure we can go on and on and on about this concept, but now the game is over, and I mean, maybe we can we can creatively use this as some kind of challenge thing, and maybe have a day of fighting against you 2v1 or 1v1/2. I'm not sure what to call it, but it does present a very intriguing set of possibilities that I think maybe moving forward, everyone can maybe try to wrap their heads around, because now that you've turned fantasy into reality, and now that reality is here, then the brainstorming can start to occur, I think.
Yeah, it's like everything just becomes possible once you actually put it into
Right,
practice.
right. Because a lot of people just fantasize like, oh, what if AirMech was, you could have three factions or four against each other. It could be 1v1v1 or whatever, or how about 8 players? And until someone makes it more worthwhile to continue to brainstorm on that concept, usually people will just stop it at the initial concept. But now we can even make whole events based on trying to beat KombatKat dogfighting in a 2v1 if you're a striker and he's just Osprey. Something like that. This will be
Yeah.
it could be cool.
Unfortunately, I think a majority of the player base just do not really have passion, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. They they like playing, but they don't really like going that far.
Well, I mean, and I think that's the ratio of people like that to overall player base is probably roughly the same in AirMech versus other games. It's just AirMech's player base is so small that our subset of actual creators is going to be in the single digits or whatnot. So, I mean, I'm glad that we have people like you in this community that'll go the extra mile and do this kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. So, I mean,
Yeah.
and I know you've made a lot of really cool maps with a lot of functionality that people haven't really thought about before, like that, though I forget the name of it, but the one that's like mostly blocked off with gates and you have to destroy certain things with gates and to open up
Gridlock.
the gates. I'm sorry?
Gridlock. It's
Gridlock.
basically the entire map is close corridors.
Right, right, right. And yeah, I honestly don't even know how you're implementing those gates. To be quite honest, I've done an okay amount of scripting with AirMech, and I'm really not even sure how you did that. To be quite honest, do you off the top of your head know your current author slot?
103, I think.
103. You know what? I'm gonna hit finish on this replay, and I'm gonna
Alrighty.
just show everyone how to access your maps. I'm gonna say create new group, say make private. So if you go down here into maps, you can go to public and just scroll with your scroll wheel. Is it this?
Yep, it's
Probably not.
Gorge.
Oh, okay. So this is KombatKat's current slot. It doesn't show his name. It only shows the name of the map that he last published. So that's great. But if you right click, boom, you can see all of the maps that he's published. I'm guessing you put this in as a separator of some kind, number 7. But
Zephyr is supposed to be there, but I haven't finished it.
I see. So Gridlock, that is the map that we were talking about. But all these maps, and I've done, I've looked at a couple of them myself. I know, we were talking a little bit when you were streaming, showing off your maps. A couple of other guys have been playing your maps as well, and it's been pretty interesting. And there's tons of maps. So I would highly recommend to anyone watching just to check out author slot 103. Hit that right click button and just go crazy. Try every single map, and let your friends know. And hopefully we can actually do the full 0-point tournament that KombatKat wanted to do previously. But AirMech is AirMech, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, hey man, I appreciate you taking the time to both send me the replay and explain this concept to everyone watching. So thanks for joining.
Yeah, I honestly, I had no idea how you were gonna respond to it, because some people think it's cheating.
I could see how it could be considered cheating. It's weird. I mean, I don't even know that it's allowed, necessarily. But honestly, at this stage of AirMech's life, I don't really care. Personally, I don't care. There's so much that people have complained about and a lot of drama that's unnecessary. And everybody needs to step back and look at the big picture. AirMech needs all the creative support it can get. It can use all the streamers, YouTubers, and community events that it can get. And I mean, we're really all lucky that this game is still being supported and the servers are still on, So yeah, I don't care.
Carbon could have pulled the plug and been like, okay, we're done.
Exactly. And yeah, honestly, at this point, I don't care if you think it's cheating or not. Clearly, it's weird as hell, and it's probably not going to be considered meta, even if someone figures out how to make it. You know, if KombatKat does more development and figures out how to solve a lot of the problems that he mentioned. Dude, have you seen top tier play? You know what I mean? It's different. And
you didn't see it in that match because XCOM was gone for a majority of it. But most of the time, when I face Scully or Kraken or players that know what they're doing,
actual top 20 players, yes.
The biggest weakness of the strategy is actually just them figuring out that I can't be in two places at once and cheesing my closest. And slowly, just taking away my resources.
Right.
And not being able to acquire the snowball.
And honestly, if you don't have a generator on your post, I could even see two players focus firing the other two players because you can really only shoot in one direction.
Not only that, but it's also inaccurate.
Right.
There's even through being able to fire, there's a certain amount of lag time between switching directions, and you can see how many times I was firing in the wrong direction in that replay.
Right. And the fact that you can only shoot in 8 directions is probably very limiting as well, I would imagine, because then your mech has to adjust. If you do quick changes, it just goes crazy, I would think, because it's trying to hit one of the 8 directions, even though you're trying to smoothly move your analog stick around. I'm sure there are a lot of problems and complications that are easily exploited by someone who realizes what they're playing against. So I highly doubt that this will be, that you're going to get a bunch of PMs asking, hey, show me how to do this because I want to kick ass in PvP. No, it's,
yeah, it's a burden compared to getting in with a good player and just playing.
Right. Exactly. I mean, having a fake teammate that's you again is probably a lot different than having a real teammate who's actually good. So, I guess this is just another PSA. Get a freaking teammate and play with that guy and develop strategies. Dedicated teams are awesome, and it's hard to beat a dedicated team that is used to working together, has map specific strategies. You really have to just be the best of the best to be able to beat that impromptu. So
yeah, you also have to have fun though. I mean, people who are
for sure
aren't having fun are just gonna burn themselves out.
And there's different reasons that everyone plays the game. A lot of people just want to play to own and win. And that's, hey, more power to you. But it's hard to sustain that type of thing. So if you don't actually enjoy playing the game, I would recommend either taking a break, reassessing, or start figuring out why you're playing AirMech to begin with, and actually have fun with it. If you're not having fun with a freaking video game, then maybe you should do something else, in my opinion, honestly. All right, everybody. I think we've gotten the point across. I'm gonna include KombatKat's information, Twitch stream, whatever else we can link to him in the video description below, and check him out. And check out everyone else that's providing content for the AirMech community. It's something that we definitely all need to support each other with.
Hey, this was fun. I'm glad I could be on.
Yeah, man, and maybe we can do another weird ass cast sometime in the future. So. All right, guys. So this has been RUI and KombatKat. Thanks for joining us for this Netflix this AirMech and chill. This is better than Netflix. This is freaking better than Netflix. Let me tell you, because it's AirMech. All right. See you guys next time.